Hi, everybody. Welcome back. We are now doing our 10 o'clock author chat with author Sarah J. Schmitt, who wrote YA novel, It's a Wonderful Death. Welcome, Sarah, and thank you so much for chatting with us tonight.
Thanks, Erin. I am so excited to be here with you guys. So my first question is, a great starter is, can you give a little synopsis of your book, It's a Wonderful Death? So It's a Wonderful Death is about a girl who gets her soul accidentally collected by a Grim Reaper and goes kicking and screaming into the afterlife because she really thinks she was cheated by this move. The problem is everyone in the afterlife thinks the world's better off without her because she's kind of a horrible person. So the story is all about her trying to find a way to earn her life back, and in the process make changes from her past that affect her future. And hopefully she does get her life back, but I'm kind of a dark and twisted person, so there is a twist at the end that some people don't like, and it's fine, I don't care, because I think it's a fun story. So that is my story in a nutshell. So the next question is, your main character, RJ, is not very likable at the beginning of your book. What do you find compelling about writing a disagreeable character, and are there challenges in writing a difficult character? So I intended from the very beginning for RJ to be this character that you're like, I kind of don't like her, but she got handed a raw deal, so maybe I'll see what she does with it. And what I liked about that is sometimes redemption stories are kind of typical. Like you know what to expect. And this one, I kind of wanted people to sometimes root against her and sometimes root for her. But really what I wanted is to show that anybody at any moment can start their life over and they can make choices that are better for their future, that kind of stuff, without getting all, preachy. So I liked being able to be nasty with her, kind of mean and everything, but I liked being able to see her change and develop and become this stronger, more self-reliant character. The challenges in writing a difficult character is you take a risk every time you do that with readers, because some readers are like, nope, I don't like this girl, I don't want anything to do with her. So you do take that risk, but again, the storyline called for really horrible, almost a cliche of a girl. And I think she delivered that pretty well. One of the funnest things is sometimes I got to say stuff that I would never say in person, but sometimes you think, I'd really like to say this. That's kind of fun. All right, so I think I covered those. When did I start writing? I knew I wanted to be a writer when I was in 4th grade. I was obsessed with choose your own adventure books. And one of the main reasons I liked it so much is that I felt like I could control what the character was going to do. And while my friends who are reading them too would be like, yeah, I saved the day and like seven different choices. I'm like, yeah, whatever. I killed the prince in 4 choices. He was eaten by a dragon. It was fabulous. I knew at an early age I like to kill off characters. So that was kind of what it started, is that control. But over time, I realized I still wasn't the person controlling the character because the author had all of these things in place. So I started writing earnestly in 4th grade and went all the way through high school, kept writing, entering writing competitions, and then I stopped right after high school. And I'm not sure why. I know I had a really bad experience with somebody kind of making fun of my stuff, and I let that dictate to me, like tell me that I wasn't a good writer. But I kind of regret that, but also I don't think I would have ever written this book had I not taken time to have a little bit of life experience too. What's your writing process like is the next question. So there are authors who sit down and they will not get up from their chairs until they've written 5,000 words, and then they go about their day. There are authors who write so many words a week, and they don't stop until they've gotten those words. I'm not that writer. I will write 8,000 words in a day for 3 weeks, and just what I call binge write, because if I take any longer than that to write my first draft, I kind of get bored with my story. It's kind of like an adult ADHD thing. I get bored with it. So I have to get those bones down as quickly as possible. It's a Wonderful Death was actually a NaNoWriMo book, so National Novel Writing book. And I wrote it in 23 days. Now, it took me 8 months to revise it because it was really, really bad. But again, I learned that that's the best way for me to write, is just to get it all out on paper and then deal with the aftermath. There's a running joke in my critique group that future Sarah really hates past Sarah because past Sarah leaves all kinds of landmines in her manuscript that future Sarah has to deal with. Okay, what is the most challenging aspect of writing? I think one of the hardest things about writing, I'm an extrovert. I love to be around people. I draw energy from being in groups of people, especially writers, and talking with them. I think one of the hardest things about writing is that it can be really solitary. And especially researching a book that maybe has a lot of kind of like some sad issues in it, I tend to get caught up in that. And so I have learned the best thing I can do is make sure that I put in place a chance to connect with other writers. And it's people who just love writing for the sake of writing. And that really helps. So I would say the solitariness of writing is hardest for me. And the first page. I hate the first page, that blank page looking at you in the face. And just that overwhelming feeling of, can I really do this again? Okay. What's my favorite word? My favorite word. Wow, that's hard. There are so many words. I'm going to go with kiwi. I have always liked the word. It just kind of rolls off the tongue and it sounds really, 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 really cute. My least favorite word is failure. Yeah, those are my two. What scares you? I'm terrified of snakes. We live in this old farmhouse and there are lots of nooks and crannies where critters can get into our house. And a couple years ago, I walked into my kitchen and there was a snake in my kitchen and my cat had caught it and it was acting like it was dead, but it was not dead. But even though I thought it was dead, I was hyperventilating, trying to not freak out around my kids and it was just this little gardener snake. I'm such a wuss when it comes to snakes. Yeah. Oh, I will never write a book with a snake in it, ever. What makes me laugh? I think my kids make me laugh, and not always in a good way. Like sometimes I laugh because I just don't know what else to do. But my kids make me laugh, and then I've got some really good friends that when we get together, all we do is talk and laugh, and it's just that feeling of connectedness and having a good time. So yeah. My favorite food. Oh gosh, so there are so many favorite foods. So I'm gonna break it down. So my favorite breakfast food is pancakes. Love pancakes. My favorite lunch food is mac and cheese. Yes, I sound like a teenager, I think. My favorite dinner, actually for dinner, I love Thai food. And then my favorite dessert is normally cheesecake, although just a little bit ago we had this caramel apple crisp at Ruby Tuesdays that was to die for, and I'm still thinking about it. So those would be my favorite food. Okay, so if I had to choose a career other than what I currently do, what would it be? I think I would like to be a literary agent, which is kind of the other side of writing. I have a literary agent who shops my work to editors and publishers in New York, or well, really around the country. And I think it's awesome that their job is to kind of discover new writing talent. And I think that would be a lot of fun, but practical, because I'm probably not going to ever leave Indiana. I think I would probably be a librarian. I've worked in libraries before in different capacities, and I've been a school librarian. I think I would like to be a teen librarian at a public library. And even though summers can be exhausting, and all of you with your librarians listening right now are probably nodding their head, it's just so much fun to get to hang out with teens and do programs and talk books, because pretty much all I read is YA. So I think I would probably like a teen librarian if I wasn't a literary agent. What profession would you never want to do? Well, I would never want to work in a zoo with snakes. We can make that's obvious. But I don't think I would want to be like a tree trimmer, like one of those people who takes trees down, because first of all, I really like trees and I always feel bad when they have to be cut down, even if they're sick or have infestations and stuff. But then just the thought of I'm so clumsy that there's so many things that could go wrong with me up on a ladder or up in like a cherry picker or whatever with a chainsaw on a tree. Like there's just two things that can go wrong. So I'd say tree trimmer. What is your favorite place to travel to? I've been to Ireland twice. I think that's probably my favorite place. There's just something about it that has always felt magical. We've gotten, both times that we went to Ireland, we got lost and we always found these really cool out of the way places and stopped. And it was just kind of like this moment where you felt like the world disappeared and you were in that space and in that time. So I would say Ireland. One of my favorite experiences, we were in Ireland, and apparently it doesn't snow in Ireland very often. And so it was snowing when we were there, because that's what happens when you go in February. And there was an argument between this young girl who was working in this bakery and a woman who had gone there for coffee about whether it was really snowing. And it was just a lot of fun to listen to them in their Irish accent argue about whether it was snowing when you could clearly see it was snowing. All right. What do you like to do in your downtime? Okay. I like to sleep. I feel like there is not enough time in the world to sleep. I'm sure I should say read, and that is the other downtime, or listen to podcasts, or I'm really obsessed with Nailed It on Netflix right now, so I might watch that. But if given the choice, yeah, totally taking sleep. Do you have any distinct memories of an interaction in a library or with a librarian? Okay, so I live in Indiana now. Before that, I was going to college in Kansas, and before that, I lived in Florida. But before that, I lived in Kansas again. And that is kind of when I was in, sixth grade, I think. And I lived in this town called Harrington, Kansas. And there was this small library, and the library is still there. It's still a building it was in that it's always been in. But it was the first time in my life I ever got to go to the library and just pick out whatever books I wanted and take them home and read them. And I didn't have to have my mom go with me. I could ride my bike. And I think there was that freedom of just being able to read whatever was there. And it kind of blew my mind how many titles I could check out. And I definitely checked out some books that I should not have checked out. And I read some things that I probably shouldn't have read, but I don't think anything scarred me. But yeah, that was kind of my first memory. And I really actually want to do a library visit there again, because I want to give back a little bit to that experience. You know, it was a small town in Kansas, and but that was where my world opened up, and books really became a place for me to escape and discover new things. Who are your favorite authors? That is so hard, and it's even hard. It's even harder than asking which is my favorite child. I have 2 kids, and it just depends on the day of the week with them. But this is actually harder because I have had the pleasure of meeting so many great authors, and some I like because their books sing to me, and some I like because they make me laugh, and I have great experiences with them. But let's see. So Anna Marie McLemore is one of my favorites. She writes these books that to me, they're like reading music, like reading songs, not just the music on a page, but actually reading the lyrics of a song. And so I like her. Adam Silvera is always one of my favorites. And I would be remiss if I didn't say J.K. Rowling, because I'm a total Harry Potter person. I'm Ravenclaw, so if you're not Ravenclaw, I'm very sorry for you. And I have the full robe and everything. So I would say she would be up there. And I have to give a shout out to my critique partner, Shannon Lee Alexander, who writes these amazing romances that will make you cry and laugh and then cry again. So those, I think, would be my top 4. What have you read in the last year? Okay, I can't tell you what I've read in the last year. This is always a dangerous question, because I actually was on the William C. Morris committee for debut novels, and I can't talk about any of the books that we read, but I can tell you that I read 120 books last year. And then this year, I am on an Indiana Book Award committee, and I can't talk about any of the books I'm reading this year. So I guess I can tell you, I did read The Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue by Mackenzie Lee. That was fantastic. What are the other books I can talk about? Okay, I have read a book that I think it might have just come out, but Picture Us in the Light by Kelly Loy. I forget her last name right now. I just read that book, and that book like breaks your heart and tears it apart and makes you cry. I love books that will make me cry. I'm such a crier. It's not that hard. But that was another book that it's a new book. If it hasn't come out, it's coming out really soon. And I can talk about like the 5 books that made the finalists for the Morris Award. So that would have been The Hate You Give, Dear Martin by Nick Stone, Starfish by Akimi Dawn, her name, Bowman, Deals Within, and Saints and Misfits. So those 5 books, they were the finalists for the Morris Award, and I loved each and every one of them for different reasons, so I can talk about those books. Okay. Who's your favorite fictional character? Hermione Granger. I would say she's my favorite. I like her because she can be this kind of nerdy girl, but she's super smart, and it transcends like this kind of stereotype of where she started. And so I love Hermione. And I love Luna Lovegood because she's Ravenclaw, but also because she just has this way of looking at the world that is so unique and fresh and optimistic, even though her life has not always been optimistic. And then if we're going to go old school, I'm probably going to go all of the women in Pride and Prejudice. I love that book. I know it by heart. And I can recite it if you want me to, but I don't think we have that much time. What was your favorite childhood book? The Giving Tree. I had probably had that book read to me so many times. I've read it to my kids so many times. It was just, to me, like the whole story about this tree giving everything it had to this little boy about being selfless was a great lesson. But what was even a better lesson for me as I was growing up is not to be selfish like the little boy. And so that book has always reminded me to try to be generous and to try to give back, to be aware when I'm asking too much, which my kids will tell you I ask too much of them all the time. Okay. All right, so the next question, is there an author you would freak out about meeting in real life? Okay, we're going to put JK on the side because obviously I would lose my mind. But I actually have a fangirl moment story I'll share with you. So I love the Daughter of Smoke and Bones trilogy. I think she is fantastic. I think she is just this coolest person. And I was at a conference. We were both signing books at the same time. And I knew she was coming and to see her. And I'm standing around and I'm talking to a couple of people. One of them was who's like all of 5 foot tall. And I am 5'6". And so we're talking in the lobby of this hotel. And out of the corner of my eye, I see pink hair. And I'm like, the only person that could be is Laini Taylor. So I turn just enough to confirm that yes, it's her. And then I duck down behind Anna Marie and I spin her. So she is now looking at Laini Taylor and I am hidden behind her. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's Laini Taylor. It's Laini Taylor. And I stayed that way until she got in the elevator and went upstairs to her room. I don't think Anna Marie will ever forgive me for that. But that was one of those moments. And then another author that I had another fangirl moment was Libba Bray. If you have not read Beauty Queens and you like sarcastic, snarky characters with like, you know, beauty queens and like carnivorous snakes and, you know, bombs made out of beauty cream, you should totally read Beauty Queens by Libba Bray. But I did get a chance to meet her. And I don't think I actually said real sentences because Beauty Queens taught me that I could, or showed me that I could write a funny book, which It's a Wonderful Death is a funny book. And so it gave me the confidence to write that in the direction of my career. So when I met her, I tried to tell her that, but I was crying and a little bit on the hyperventilative scene. So I think it came out as, oh my, and then she started crying and it was a mess. There was so much mascara running that day. But those are my two fangirl moments. I will totally freak out if there's somebody that I meet that I absolutely, I have no pride anymore. What's your favorite TV show, movie, or band? Okay. So I'm supposed to write a lot because that's my job, right? I tend to binge watch on movies a lot. So Nailed It, Netflix has been a big one. The Handmaid's Tale on Hulu has been another movie that I binge watch. And then I'm so excited for the new season of Doctor Who. Like, it's time to start now. Like, I cannot wait any longer. So those are kind of the three TV shows. Movie, anything Marvel and anything Harry Potter. We in Star Wars, like those three series are on a constant stream in our house as far as movies. Band, I think Imagine Dragons is probably the one that I go to a lot. There's something about their sound that makes me happy. Oh gosh, if your book was made into a film, who would you want to cast in the movie? That's really hard partially because the book has changed and maybe the actors I would have put in it 3 years ago are all grown up now. But I would probably want to write, in a character. I don't know if you guys have seen Love, Simon, but the character, the guy who plays Blue, I would want to write a character in for him if there isn't one for him, because I've loved him since he was in Australia acting, and I would love to have the honor of him being in any, you know, movie of my adaptations. Who are your favorite people to follow on social media? I've kind of pulled a little bit away from social media lately. I'm trying to kind of now like gravitate more towards Instagram because Instagram is my happy place. So I am really always on the lookout for like great great people who are doing bookstagrams and really cool pictures of book covers and the way that they celebrate authors and books that they like. Let's see. I do like Maya Smiles. I know that when she moved, she used to live in Indianapolis, or in the Indianapolis area, and I know she moved to Colorado. So I haven't seen her as much because I think she's in college now. But she's just so delightful, and I like watching her. And her take on books is awesome. What's on your bucket list? Well, right now it's to get a second book out. So I'm in the process of working on that. And then I think, like, I'm not that adventurous. Like, I don't want to swim with sharks or jump out of a plane because why? But I do have this bucket list. I do want to visit all 50 states before my kids graduate from high school. So we figured it out, and we've been to 39 since they were born. So we've got 11 more to go. So I think that would be a big bucket list for me. And also to have my book adapted into a movie or a television series, that would be fabulous. So what projects are you currently working on? I have two that are in the works. One is it's a story about a girl who is born into this. It's a contemporary, but about a girl whose one chance to break out of her small town is to win a reality competition. So I'm not going to go into big details because there's a lot of work left to be done on that. And then the other is a story about two brothers who are grieving and need to attend a Star Wars convention because they have to do a live podcast. They're contracted to. And it's a story about their healing and their coming together and forgiveness. But they're both really funny with snarky characters and hopefully secondary characters people really like. So those are the two that I have, but I can't really talk too much in detail about them because if they change, I don't want anyone getting mad. What advice would I give to my teenage self? That's a great question. I consider myself an A- personality. You know, sometimes I don't know if they still do, but they'll talk about the A personality who are like always on, they have to have everything perfect. There's this perfectionist streak. And then there's the B personality, and they will kind of, you know, they'll do what they have to do, but they're not so uptight. I say I'm an A- personality because I want to be a perfectionist. I just don't care enough to do that perfection side. So my advice to my teenage self is to relax, that nothing that I do in my high school years is going to determine who I'm going to become, who I'm going to fall in love with, what's going to happen in my life, because every moment I have a chance to make changes. So just relax and enjoy being a teenager because everything changes when you're out. Final question. Do you have any advice for aspiring writers? Yes. Read all the time. Read as much as you can and read stuff that you don't think you're going to like. Also, I would say if you love writing, write all the time and try to find other people who like to write as well and get into start doing kind of a critique group and help make each other better. Don't go into it with the attitude, I'm going to tear your stuff apart. Go in it with the attitude of, I'm going to tear your stuff apart, but I'm going to help you make it better. And never give up. This is a business where there is lots of rejection. And it's not personal. It feels personal, but it's not. So if writing is what you want to do, don't let anyone or anything stop you from doing it. Write a little bit each day, even if it's only half a paragraph. Just keep writing. And I think that's it. That was my last question.
Sarah, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We really appreciate you chatting with us.
Absolutely. It was a blast. I hope you guys have a great time at your lock-in.
Yep. So our last author chat of the evening will start at 11 p.m. and it's with Rosalind Eves. So we look forward to that. Thank you again, Sarah.
Thanks. Bye.